I just bought my first car, and 30 minutes after I bought it, it almost left me stranded on the side of the highway. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I bought this car, fixed everything on the car, and now love it every single day. To start my journey of buying my first car, we need to go back to November 2024. Back in November, I started searching for the perfect car that I could actually afford. I had just enough money to buy a cheap project car. First, I started looking for a Porsche, then I realized that was kind of stupid because it would probably break down. Then I started looking for something with a V8, but then I thought about gas mileage. But eventually, after some research, I found the perfect project car. When I first started researching for my first car, I watched every single video that I possibly could on the best first one. And in the end, I realized there was one car that checked all of the boxes. The things that I looked for in my new project car was, first, it had to be manual. Second, it had to be rear-wheel drive. Third, it needed to get more than 20 miles per gallon. And fourth, most importantly, it needed to be a car that I was proud to own. The car I finally decided to buy was this 1999 Mazda Miata. Once I had finally decided on wanting to buy a Miata, I had to look all over Marketplace to find the right one. The first Miata that I found was this turbocharged maroon Miata for $6,000. And although this might have been a great first car, this car was in rough shape, and with all the mods, I was unsure about reliability. The second car that I found was this dark green Miata for $5,000. And although this looks like a great deal, when I messaged the seller, he said it was no longer for sale. I'm pretty sure this one only had a broken radio and no AC, but other than that, it would have been a great first car. After this, I found the last car that I almost bought before my actual car, and it was this 1999 Miata with a salvage title. This car had been in a car accident, and because it was in an accident, it had a salvage title and needed to be rebuilt. The seller was selling it at $3,100, and with only 80,000 miles, this was a perfect first car, but the problem I had is that I didn't have all of the tools, and I was unsure if I'd be able to fix it myself. The car that I actually ended up buying was this 1999 Miata, and I bought it for $4,000. This car was in the perfect color that I wanted, and it had no modifications, which is exactly what I wanted in my first car. This also had a brand new paint job, super clean interior, manual, and many other things that made this a great pick. The only flaw in this car though was it was at 196,000 miles. But this didn't really bother me because with all the research that I did, I learned that Miatas are actually pretty reliable cars at high mileage. So after all the research to find my first car, I finally took the 3-hour drive to Houston to go pick up my new car. Now when I bought this car, out of respect for the seller, I didn't record him at all, but I'll still tell you exactly what happened. When I actually went to go check out the car, the seller that I met was extremely nice and showed me the car right away. Right before this, I made a list of all of the important things that I wanted to check out on the car, such as rust, all of the different flaws, and things like whether the radio worked. When I finally got to asking the questions about if all of the things on the car were working, he told me that the AC was actually broken in the car and it needed a brand new compressor. This was going to cost me maybe $500 if I went to the shop to go fix it, so I wasn't sure what to do. At this point, my heart sank. This is because in the listing, he had never mentioned that, and I would need to get it fixed in Texas. Along with this, the car had 3,000 more miles than was in the listing, and it also had different taillights, different side marker lights, and a couple of other different touches, such as a different shift knob. All of this made me feel really uneasy about the purchase, as I felt like I was being lied to, but I decided to go through with it anyways. When I went through with the purchase, I got the price down from $4,500 to $4,000, which isn't that much off, but given the price of the car initially, it's actually still a really good deal. As soon as I bought this car, I was so happy yet so scared. Buying a car is a huge deal. I was very stressed about all of the money I just put into the car, the maintenance I would need to do, and all of the other fees included. I also wasn't sure if this was the right car for me, as this is my first car. I also think stressing me out was the fact that it was 100 degrees outside, and because he had lied about the AC, I didn't have any air conditioning. Along with this, I'd never driven stick shift before. I'd only played it in the video game, so actually doing it in real life was a lot harder. Then, the worst possible thing happened. On the way back to Austin, about 30 minutes after I had bought the car, the red battery light had turned on my dash. In the moment, I kind of panicked and didn't film anything, but I called my dad and we discussed that it would probably die in about 10 minutes because there was no battery. This is because when the battery light turns on, it means that your battery isn't actually charging in the moment. But luckily, we were 5 minutes away from a Buc-ee's, so we both pulled over and went to go take a look. We didn't really know what we were looking for, so we were debating on whether or not we were going to tow the car, whether we were going to try and limp it to like an AutoZone, or whether we were just going to try and drive the car. After I went inside and got some water, I tried to start the car, and whenever I turned the key, I just heard a click. At this point, I was so over it. I thought I just bought a paperweight and wasted all of my money, but after several tries, it finally started up. Now, in the present day, we know that it's actually just a starter problem. It has an issue with sticking, but in the moment we thought it was a battery issue and that we would have to get the car towed. But despite all the setbacks, we actually made it back to Austin right around 11 p.m. and I was so happy that I made it home. Despite us actually making it home, I slept a very regretful night of sleep. The following day, however, I woke up with a positive attitude and I was ready to try and fix all of the different problems that the car had. So to start with all of the fixes that I did, the first thing I needed to fix obviously was the alternator. Without fixing this, I wouldn't actually be able to drive the car, and I just bought it, so I needed to drive it. In the end, this cost me $144 and took 2 hours to install. The second thing I was trying to tackle was a check engine light that the car came with. When I took the car to AutoZone, the check engine light said that I needed a new gas cap, and that's also what the seller told me. So after buying a new gas cap, I was hoping the engine light would go away, but in the end, it actually didn't. This cost around $50 and took maybe 5 minutes to install. The next thing that I fixed was the rear glass on the soft top that was not glued in. When I actually bought the car, the seller gave me a basketball so I could hold it up on the way back home. And without this, I wouldn't have been able to drive it without a bunch of wind getting in the car. This cost me $45. I bought suction cups and I bought some silicone to secure the window. And in the end, this took maybe about an hour. The next thing I did after this was deep clean the whole car. I found a cigarette inside of the car when I actually bought it, so I knew I needed to do this. I cleaned the engine bay, the interior, and the exterior so that it would be perfect and a fresh start for me. In total, this was about $80, and I've cleaned it many times since, so I have no idea about the time. After I cleaned up the whole car, I installed this brand new Cobalt muffler from eBay. And even though it's an eBay muffler, it's a great first muffler for my car. And it's only an axle back, so it didn't make the car that much louder, but it made it sound way deeper and better. Also, every single time I remove this muffler, you gotta try it with a straight pipe, right? This muffler cost me $370 and took 1 hour to install. The next thing I did was install this brand new speaker in the door. When I bought the car, it was buzzing, so I knew the speaker was blown, so I just replaced it. This cost me $66 and took 1 hour to install. After this, my headlights blew out, so I needed to get 2 brand new bulbs for this, and this cost me $71 and took 30 minutes. Along with this, I also polished the headlights and used a headlight restoration kit, and that cost me an extra $30 and maybe 30 minutes. After polishing the headlights, I redid my roll bar. Whenever I bought the car, it was super rusted out, so I used some tin foil and some soapy water, and I scrubbed away at the roll cage until it was shiny again. This took 30 minutes and cost me nothing because I had tin foil. This was my first real modification besides the muffler, and this was my new wing. The previous owner actually threw in this old Mazda Speed wing, but it had a big crack in it, so I used some Bondo and patched up the wing, and along with this, I used paint match paint to my car to actually paint the wing. This is my first time doing this, so in the end it came out kind of bad, but I think it makes the car look way better even with the crappy paint job. This cost me $50 and took about 3 hours over a couple of days. After the wing, I did some other fixes. I did a new valve cover gasket, did an oil change, changed my oil filter, and I did the spark plugs. This cost me about $150, and the seller actually included the valve cover gasket when I bought the car, so that was for free. Also, I got to borrow a torque wrench from AutoZone, so that cost me nothing. After all these other mods, I wanted to finally tackle the engine light again, and so after 6 months, I finally bought the right tool, which is the smoke tester, to test for a leak in my evap system. After countless hours of looking around the entire car for this smoke to be leaking out, I finally found that it was this little tiny valve behind the right rear wheel well. In total, this cost me about $150 in 5 hours, and I had finally turned it off. And finally, the last things that I did was add brand new floor mats, and along with this, I got a brand new steering wheel for Christmas. So all in all, that's all the fixes that I had to do on this Miata. In total, I spent $4,000 on the car, $1,356 on maintenance and other upgrades, and $740 on insurance and taxes. So in the end, that brought my total cost for this car to $6,069. Along with this, it took 23 hours to do all of the other fixes and maintenance. This also includes the time it took me to drive the car home from Houston. This car has been an absolute dream to own, and I regret nothing at this point. I'm so thankful that I could make this Miata my first car, and I'm so happy that it taught me so many important lessons. Along with this, I learned other important things, such as you can rent tools from AutoZone, which I had never known before this. And finally, along with this, I gained experiences that I'm never gonna forget. The future plans for this car are still up in the air as I'm gonna be going to college pretty soon, and so I'm not sure if I'm gonna sell the car before college or if I'm gonna keep it during college. One idea I did have for this car though is to install a turbo kit before I go off to college, so let me know down below if you guys wanna see that.